Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're jumping straight into a really dark, mesmerizing philosophical deep dive, what we call the parable of the raw foundation. Now, to fully grasp the sheer magnitude of this narrative, we need to totally shift our perspective. So throughout this explainer, I'm going to guide you using the ethereal, completely detached voice of the Silver Moon Spirit. Together, we're going to look down from above at a visual chronicle of an event known as the Great Evening.
So imagine this. From my celestial height, I am the Silver Weaver. I'm watching human existence, not with panic or even empathy, but with this cold, clear fascination. I just watch as the threads of the hunt and the flicker entwine far beneath me.
And far below that celestial height lies a rain-slicked city of mirrors in the mud. It's essentially a surreal playhouse reflecting all these cosmic mysteries. It's a labyrinth where hidden dread and alchemical transmutation are happening in literally every shadowy alleyway. And this is exactly where the mortals wander, totally blind to the grand tapestry that we can see from up here.
Now, down in that mud, the seekers inevitably find themselves weighed down by something called dull lead. It's this heavy, lifeless weight of their own history. Think of it as stagnant memories and past failures that just anchor the soul to the earth. You've got travelers down there actively praying for the silence of the void just to escape this massive burden. And honestly, it makes you wonder, right? What is the dull lead that you're carrying around right now?
Section 1. The Forge of Creation. The Spirit of Becoming.
So when a weary traveler finally stands at the threshold of the void, clutching that dull lead, they don't find emptiness. Instead, they're met by the first great metaphysical force, the Red Spectre. He emerges right out of the messy mischief of ancient stained blueprints, and his hands are literally burning with the fire of imagination. He doesn't offer them a gilded cage or a comfortable seat. Instead, he shares his own history. He tells them, I too was once a nihilistic executioner who saw all existence as a meaningless error to be erased. He reveals his own alchemical transmutation into a guardian of authentic values.
And then, the Spectre demands that the traveler cast their burden straight into the logic of the Crucible. It's an intense, three-step process. First, you have to completely surrender the lead. Next, you have to endure the terrifying, raw, molten agony of melting down your former, comfortable identity. And finally, you forge the steel of a life-affirming mythos. Because you see, in the Spectre's world, mere observation is meaningless. In the beginning was the deed. You have to act.
And from that agonizing process, you birth the spirit of becoming. It's like a glowing blade of forged spirit. This is your raw foundation. It's a relentless internal struggle where the self is constantly actively destroyed and rebuilt. And you know what the absolute hardest truth about this is? It's never finished. Actually, scratch that. It's more like it will always require the heat of the forge.
Section 2. Monuments of Terminal Decay. The Mercy of Cold Stone.
But let's be real, the forge is incredibly exhausting. And because of that, a highly seductive trap starts to lurk in the shadows. Just look at this perfect juxtaposition. You've got the agony of continuous self-creation up against the alluring but completely fatal, hollow perfection of stagnation. On one side, your soul is in constant painful motion, fueled by raw destruction and the fire of imagination. But on the other side, the monument of stagnation is offering you the silence of the cage and the mercy of cold stone. It's tempting, right?
But giving into that hollow perfection is a fatal mistake. Because such peace is merely terminal decay cleverly disguised as the stars. Now, the traveler in our parable, they realize this. They step away from the void, choosing the exhausting fire of imagination instead. They completely refuse to just gasp their last against the dark.
Section 3. The High Energy Flux, Liquefaction of the Alchemical Storm.
Okay, so the Great Evening is now upon the city. Let's zoom back out to our celestial silver perspective. As the Moon Spirit, we watch as this clash between the Forge and the Frost reaches a violently unstable breaking point. This massive dialogue between these forces acts as a metaphysical catalyst. Reality literally begins to ebb and flow. Those solid alleys of mirrors we talked about, they begin to liquefy, churning into this wild state of high-energy flux and pure, raw potential.
We are now in the alchemical storm. The dust of the old world is violently agitated. Those two distant poles, the spirit of becoming and the Thanatos drive, which is that deep urge toward death and stillness, well, they aren't separate anymore. They actually merge into a singular, incredibly chaotic atmosphere.
Reality itself is just melting down, ebbing and flowing right alongside the echoes of those ancient blueprints.
And right in the middle of this churning atmosphere, the monument of stagnation, also known as the ghastly ghoul of Revelation, undergoes a totally horrifying transmutation. He abandons his static, ghostly form entirely. He reaches deep into the architecture of the frost and absorbs the very contracts written in disappearing ink that he used to ensnare weary souls, and he becomes the spirit wraith of living ink.
So here is the absolute crucial point. In this liquid void, he is no longer passively waiting for a signature. No way. He has become a moving stain of terminal decay. He's actively drifting through the alleys as a predatory shadow, hunting. He wants to rewrite the erasure of the self directly onto the souls of anyone who is just too exhausted to keep fighting.
But as always, action creates reaction. The high-energy flux births an opposing force. From the snapping friction of Apollonian gaskets rubbing against the rising heat of transformation, a chaotic spark of pure plasma literally crystallizes into existence. It's this chaotic being of fire and frost, and it just starts dancing wildly through the twisted roots of the city.
Now, unlike the Red Spectre, this plasma being isn't here to build a foundation. Its entire role is pure mischief and disruption. It relentlessly mocks the pious cows of contentment who willingly accepted their cages. With these massive chaotic flashes, it shatters the mirrors of the hollow souls, completely disrupting the mirage of a perfected universe that the ghoul so heavily relies on.
Section 4. The Final Silver Dissolution. The Descent into Mud.
The bridge that broke is finally crossed, leading straight to the ultimate confrontation. The Seeker isn't just caught between a forge and a statue anymore. Now it's a clash between two highly dynamic forces. The predatory shadow of the Wraith, desperately trying to rewrite their soul with disappearing ink, versus the chaotic flash of the plasma being, violently trying to spark that same soul awake.
Yet, looking down from my silver gaze as the moon spirit, you realize something profound. This incredibly violent, life-or-death microscopic clash is deeply tragic, but also strangely beautiful. Because in the grand scheme of things, this immense struggle of the Seeker is ultimately just a very brief agitation in the cosmic tapestry, just a temporary flicker in the vast dark.
Because the great evening brings the end of all distinctions. Whether you are rewritten by the ink or sparked alive by the plasma, the noble and the ignoble eventually dissolve just the same. All sovereign laws fade away exactly like that disappearing ink, and every single Seeker is inevitably woven right back into the silver reflection of the mud.
The great evening inevitably claims the last of the light. Knowing that this dissolution comes for us all, I want to leave you with a haunting question to ponder as you navigate your own mirrors in the mud. Will you choose the exhausting, painful fire of the forge, living fully as a soul in motion? Or will you surrender to the hollow mercy of the cold stone? The choice, however brief it may be, is yours. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.